Hey everyone, Jim here from PSI Brand. Today we are introducing a little brand story around Gyro. Gyro is located in Manawatu, so central New Zealand, North Island. And yeah, we've had the pleasure of being involved with Gyro for a number of years. But more interestingly so, recently we heard a cool story about Gyro at the Rotomole 24 event. And so with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Trudy. Tell us about yourself, Trudy, and what you do there at Gyro.
Yeah, hey Jim. Thanks for having me here today. So I'm the managing director here at Gyro. Have been involved with the company all my life. Really, I grew up with this company. It's a family business, and now as the majority shareholder and I guess on the day working director. So our business has been in operation, I think, nearing 58 years now. And started out in the very early days as a tank manufacturer, but actually moved into electrical infrastructure as my father, who was running the business at the time, was an electrical engineer by trade. So now, sort of strongly for the last 30 to 40 years, we've been supplying the electrical industry. So think low voltage infrastructure companies such as Vector, Powerco, Well Networks, Orion. We sell rotationally molded products to them in the form of pillars and cabinets and access pits, and a small amount of contract manufacturing, but mainly the power kind of infrastructure is our space.
Awesome, awesome. So good to hear. And you just love the family business vibe, kind of exactly where our business is. And I guess a lot of businesses out here in New Zealand are like that to some extent. So yeah, absolutely, you find yourself in all sorts of roles, wearing all sorts of caps. So yeah, ducking back to the story that we heard at Rotomole 24, which was about the this repurposed water tank. So, yeah, tell us a bit more about that story, Trudy, and how you got involved in that, because it was, yeah, we found an inspiring story, and it felt like the audience at sorry, at Rotomold did as well. So, yeah, if you could recap on it, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, so I guess the start of that story was for several years before this event. We had been working through some recycling ideas and recycling initiatives and how we could get end of life product back into the material stream for ourselves. And we had been working with Vision Plastics, or at least talking to them a lot, discussing how this could happen. And they understood that we were really interested in this space and excited to kind of be a part of it. Finding a leaping off point was a bit challenging as well. And so one day, I think it was the bank manager, perhaps for Vision Plastics, that saw a headline in the news about how some local people had stolen a water tank off a nearby rural property. Obviously, somewhere along the way, something went wrong. Either the water tank fell off their vehicle, or it got broken in the process, and it ended up on the sports field of a really small local rural school, which would only be about 15 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Vision Plastics' bank manager left that with Sally Spencer, and I think the story goes that Sally at the time said, "I think I know somebody down there who might be able to do something about this."
Oh,
And yeah, she got on the phone to me or email, can't remember, and said, "Hey, I know this is a bit odd, but what do you think? Like, this could be a cool thing to do for your community."
yeah.
And yeah, we thought it was pretty cool too. It was literally just down the road from our other directors, our other shareholders' house. And as it happened, the water tank actually came from next door to their property. And so our production manager and at the time and design manager, they whipped off down there with a few tools because they weren't entirely sure what they were going to encounter, how big this tank was. There were a few details.
Sure.
And they got down there, they found that the school had kind of hazard taped off the area, and they brought all the kids out actually to see. So our production manager and design manager, so it was Mark and Malcolm, they were out there on the field and talking to the kids about what happens or what can happen to some plastics at the
Yeah.
end of life, and with these types of plastics that they can be recycled, and what they were going to do with it. So
Hmm.
yeah, they cut it up for them on site. The kids were sitting around watching,
Yeah.
chatting to the team.
Yep.
I think the kids got involved helping load the some of the finished cut-offs up onto the trailer so they could kind of be part of it.
Right.
And then it all came back here. And so yeah,
So,
part of that story, I guess, was working with Vision Plastics to take that material and turn it back
mhm.
into reusable material. And we thought it'd be kind of cool to take that a bit further. Local small school, not many kids. And so we invited them to come on site and walk through the factory once the material had returned. They each got little high-vis vests and little earmuffs and stuff, and they had a wander
Cool.
around and watched that raw material being turned back into what we call gear bins. And so we donated them some sort of, tough, durable gear bins to keep sports gear and stuff like that. And so I kind of got to see the end of that
Yep.
story and how that all played out.
So cool. So cool. Just love it. I just love it how the story sort of it started with the stolen tank, which yeah, it's not great, but such a happy ending.
Yeah,
And so cool to engage those kids. You
yeah,
know, as when you're young, and you also find out there's always so many questions in life. You don't know where stuff comes from, and you can be greenwashed by the word, reducing plastic waste, etc. So cool to get them engaged in that project. So yeah, I guess from here, the impact of that, how do you feel that's had an impact on, I guess, the community? How far did that story go? Is there any additional, initiatives that you guys have taken from that, Gyro? At Gyro?
I guess, to start with,
Hmm.
it is I'm from a farming community, a rural
Yep.
community, and my kids go to another rural school. And so it was, that satisfaction, I guess, is the right word,
Hmm.
about being connected with those small rural schools and being able to
Yep.
help out. And I guess this principal of the school afterwards kind of going, well, we had no idea. We were up for a bill to come and remove this thing, and didn't really want it to go just into a waste
Yep.
plant. And so it was really neat to be able to kind of join in with them on that. And that was the first
Hmm.
thing for us. And our team, it was interesting for our team to be involved. And when the kids came here, they really enjoyed being able to kind of share. You're insulated in your factory, right?
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
necessarily, particularly with our product, you don't
Yep.
necessarily see that connection with your community. So they enjoyed
Hmm.
having the kids around and showing them what was up. Um, and it just kind of strengthened the concept for us that we were preparing to do the right thing, that we were
Hmm.
had these intentions to take this product back and return it. And for a few years we'd been stumbling over this concept of it's quite hard to really pull out exactly what the costs were involved, because there was a lot of
Yeah.
labor, and how we felt that sat with, well, cost shouldn't be everything. But of
Hmm.
course, if you want to
Hmm.
be a sustainable company operating in the future, you still have to take that into account. But it really
Yep.
just solidified the fact that this is something we really want to be doing. It was
Yeah.
important. And the fact that, it was a bank manager saw the story and thought, oh, something can be done. And then that got passed on to our supplier and they thought something can be done, that there was a shared sense of actually, this kind of action can take place. So it was nice, I guess, for a little while there, we were feeling like we were kind of on our own. Our industry wasn't terribly interested for some years about recycling and product stewardship. Um, so it was just, I guess it was fulfilling, it was
Hmm.
knowing that this kind of thing
Yeah. Yeah.
is starting to come into the forefront of people's minds.
Nice. Nice. Oh, good stuff. Hats off to you all. And I guess for other role models out there, I mean that everyone's looking to be a lot more sustainable, and be a little bit more responsible about what we're doing in the industry. Um, have you got any thoughts or thought provokers around that? Any little tips for other role models as to how they can get started on this journey, or some quick wins they can do just to you know make their mark and take up their baton?
Yeah, I mean, quick wins is tough because we all know that there's
Mm.
several of them, in terms of in your operational facility, getting your recycling, sort of getting your materials separated, all that kind of stuff, reducing your scrap, reducing offcuts, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't really go far enough now, does it? It's kind of it's the expected norm. And so, it's almost, and I won't say that that's getting into the area of greenwashing, because it's not. It's still appropriate action. But I guess if we're wanting to make that mark and go further, we started looking at it several years ago from a carbon perspective as well. So what were our carbon emissions? And, as you can imagine, probably the majority of them being the LDPE that we use, and the embodied emissions in that, and gas, natural gas. And so at the moment, natural gas, there wasn't a whole lot that we could do about that. Kind of waiting for New Zealand to decide what it's going to do around its energy before we look at new machines and new processes. And so we looked at, how do we reduce those embodied carbons from our LDPE. We did a huge amount of work in updating our tooling so that we could actually reduce shock weights and reduce offcuts, which actually in turn had a whole host of benefits, less trimming, finishing procedures, less potential for injury, I guess, and less labour work. So that's sort of where we started. And then the benefit, I guess, of having that family history in this business was looking at the fact that 30, 40 years ago, we put pillars in the ground that were just coming, companies were just coming to us going, well, what do we do? And going, okay, that's awesome that it's lasted that long and hasn't added to the waste stream. But now I'm here as the daughter of somebody who put those in the ground and sort of feeling like there's an opportunity here to do something about it. Probably my biggest, I don't know if it's a piece of advice or just comments around it, was scary. I had a lot of backlash or pushback, at least from the industry, around recycled materials and whether they would be robust enough or durable enough. So that took some time, and I just kept gently bringing it into conversation until we basically found one company who was like, recycling's our first our first initiative, and those other things can be worked on after. And once we got that one foot through the door and we made the barriers to that person entering that as low as possible, such as paying for a lot of the cost ourselves, knowing in the back of the mind that as we build this program, we will be able to have a shared cost model, or perhaps even change that later on. So it was just that one foot, and we just kept gently bringing the conversation in, got that one customer on board, and then just kept sharing that story. And I think now we're over, 20 collection sites. Most of our customers are on board throughout the North Island, and working on sorting out something else for the South Island.
Wow, so good. Oh, that's awesome. And so around that, obviously you talked about some of those challenges, and I guess some of the upsides to that. Are you seeing, is it buying you more business, or do you think it's portraying our industry in a better way? Could you just highlight perhaps some of those upsides that you've seen from overcoming those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly really interesting, the customers that do all of a sudden say to you, I'm so excited you're doing this. They can be the gruffest electrical engineers that have been in the industry 50, 60 years, and you're getting these stories where they're like, I love this, I'm getting into the cage and I'm making sure people don't put stuff in there. And it's cool to, I guess, then you get a connection because they're seeing you doing something that it's not your core business, you don't have to be doing it. A lot of the time, because we're honest with our customers, they know that it's not necessarily but in our case, it's cost neutral. It's not necessarily cost positive. And so that, I guess there's that subtle connection with those people who, they put you, and actually I was talking to somebody the other day and they say, look, we put you forward because you're showing initiative in these these aspects. So I mean, it's a benefit, and that there's definitely a lot more people talking about it. Still some reticence to act on it if there's cost involved. But our thing was, at some point we truly believe that this will be not a choice. we will be obligated to do this in some way through some at least government disincentive.
Sure.
And so we wanted to be in this space early and not have to react later on, and kind of not take that opportunity of being an early leader.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Oh, so good. And we've been noticing that with these recycled parts that you've been putting out, even noticed something on LinkedIn the other day, how you're branding some of these parts out there, which thank you very much for, and we're glad to help in that area as well. Is there, I guess, what's your key reason behind that? I mean, you're not shying away from telling people these are recycled parts now. You're actually making more of a big deal of it. And is that, I guess, what's your reasoning behind that? Is that, again, just to highlight or bring more of those benefits forward, or?
Yeah, I guess even that in itself was a journey, that highlighting that it's made from recycled materials. As I mentioned, probably, as recent as 10 years ago, there were customers or, even competitors, slandering the use of recycled materials and products in our industry. And so, there was a little bit of reticence to start with at first. And even, I guess, not as material experts ourselves, we perhaps we're a little uncertain, and we chose to use recycled materials in products that weren't exposed to a whole lot of UV, so they were buried, and that's how we started. And then as we realised that kind of this uptick of people actually being interested in this program, and the fact that when we'd go in and we it's often our lead when we go in and we have our sales meetings now. And it's received really well and really positively, and it kind of gives a launching platform. Once we got to that point, we went, okay, this is actually now no longer just a thing that it was never a thing that we did for cost-cutting measures, but, it's not a thing we need to hide from. It's actually something we should be celebrating. It's a real strength of our business. And it's only the beginning of the story in terms of, that product stewardship, bringing stuff in. Obviously, we've got the carbon reduction program and stuff as well. And so we thought, well, why not highlight it? I think we've reduced our virgin materials use now by over 40% or over 50%. And so now the balance here, 50% of our material is post-consumer recycle between our product and other post-consumer product. And so, it's just part of the story. Why not put something on it?
Nice.
People might be interested in what it means. They might go look it up, might learn a little bit about it. And just hopefully kind of highlight that it can be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So cool. So that's the Gyro Cycle brand, and
that's the Gyro Cycle brand.
That's the Gyro. And you're saying about looking it up. Have you got some of this information? I guess just some closing thoughts on that. Do you have some information on your website? Is there somewhere where people that are interested can go check this out?
Yeah, probably most of our stuff we post on LinkedIn. We get a little bit creative and stuff on there. There's a wee bit of information on our website, but we don't do it. It's not a. Obviously we use this stuff for marketing purposes, because why would we not tell our story? But it was never designed to be a brand initiative, I guess. It was never designed to just create hype and bring people in. It was just designed to be how we operate. So what's out there is what's out there. If it's enough for people to understand, I'm not sure, but there's some neat videos kind of showing the process, and we definitely kind of celebrate some of our customers that do really well in that space on LinkedIn.
So cool. Well, thanks, Trudy. We'll certainly share this story with the world, and we'll pop something on our website. So we'll share those links around, and keep an eye on LinkedIn for more info. But thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear the story. And we'll go get them.
Hopefully we're buying more Gyro cycled graphics soon.
Well, we're here
a sign of the times, getting more positive, hopefully.
Absolutely. All right. Good stuff. Thank you so much, Trudy. I'll leave it at that, and we'll be in touch, eh?
Yeah, cool. Alrighty.
So good. Have an awesome one. Cheers. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.